What's up, guys? It's Benny. We have some breaking news for you on this program that I just learned about Dan Bongino and his future at the FBI. And let me explain to you why this is important to me on a personal level. Because we know Dan, and he's been a bit of a mentor to me, quite frankly. He's always been very helpful in our show, even calling me randomly to give me pointers on certain things and on certain builds. And he's just been a wise advisor. He's always been good, and he's been solid. He cares a lot about this country, and he has a heart of gold and a very big heart. And he's somebody that wants to make it a better place. He wants to destroy evil people, and he wants to help MAGA. He is totally MAGA. And so I have a personal connection to this story. And when I saw this headline on Friday, it sucked, because Dan's doing great work at the FBI. And I think he's in a position that, quite frankly, he was built for. And that, I think he could do really do God's work at that organization if given enough time and enough power as the deputy director of the FBI. And Donald Trump personally asked him to be in this position. And the fallout from the Epstein saga, of course, caused Dan to say, it's going to be really tough to return to my show, to do what I love to do after all of this. If it really goes south, will people trust me? Because they don't trust this stuff, and we haven't done it in the right way. Now, I called a number of people with direct knowledge of this, and this was Dan's frustration, is that the disclosures were not great, and the way that it was handled and the way that it was released was not great, and that he was being blamed in part for it. And so Dan didn't show up to work and sort of gave an ultimatum to President Trump and said, hey, listen, Pam Bondi either goes, right, or I go. And he and Pam Bondi had quite a bit of a blow up at the White House on Wednesday. Dan hadn't showed up to work since. Some people saying he didn't show up to work on Friday. No, it was Wednesday. So this is bad, because these are really good people, and you need them fighting the good fight. You need as many warriors as you can in this battle. And I don't want to see Dan go. Neither did the American people, by the way. Probably the most viral clip from Turning Point's conference this weekend was Megyn Kelly asking the crowd of 7,000 rock-solid MAGA patriots, what do you think about Dan Bongino? Would you prefer that he leave or Pam Bondi? Listen to this.
He's not
Who would you guys prefer, Bongino or Bonnie? Okay, 7,000 to 0.
They want Dan. Of course, Dan. You know why? Because Dan understands MAGA. Dan's part of the MAGA movement. Dan's been an important piece of it, and a mouthpiece for really important ideas, and an advocate and a fierce warrior. He's been in the trenches. I mean, with all due respect to Pam Bondi, she's been in Florida. She represented the president. It's nice, but do you think she really gets MAGA? I don't think so. She wouldn't have behaved this way if she did. And now it's a time for choosing. It's a time for choosing.
So, that's pretty demonstrable, right? I spoke at the same conference. I can tell you the same thing, right? The loudest roar that we received in our speech was when I said, you have got to release these Epstein files. It's tough love from a friend, Let me tell you what. I just did some phone calls, and I found out that Dan Bongino not only is back working at the FBI, that cooler heads have prevailed here, that Dan is actually working on something very, very important, and also everything's changed. Oh, yeah. There is a positive mood for Dan, according to my source, after further internal movement towards Epstein disclosures and transparency. Trump team is back together and locking in. That's what I was told directly by my source. And people love this. I just put this up, and it's flying. People want to see this. They definitely don't want to see Dan go. That's a matter of fact. But this is what else I got from another source, is that, there are some big things happening that we may not be able to see right now, but it's been very positive. All of, you in the comment section, posting on X, writing right here, letting your voice be heard in whatever way that you do that, it's worked. Ladies and gentlemen, further sources confirm to me that there's going to be a major change in approach to the way that this Epstein file will be handled by the administration. Expect more disclosures. Very powerful people inside the admin are now pushing for a special counsel. Full press briefing on Epstein findings. Important to note that this drastic change happened after Our voices were heard, but also Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and a number of other people, Charlie Kirk, really locking in and giving some tough love to the administration over this. They were met with massive roars and applause from the 7,000 gathered and could not be ignored. In short, our voices are being heard and power to the people. It's a beautiful thing to see. And I want to see Dan back at work. This, of course, is not exactly the right headline. I don't hear that Dan is in limbo. I hear that Dan is back at work and that he's had a very good détente with Donald Trump and that there's going to be changes. White House statement seems to suggest that Dan Bongino isn't resigning from the FBI. Well, yeah, that's a matter of fact. Yes, that is true. Here's what President Trump said yesterday about Bongino. Donald Trump smiled, said he loves Dan. He wants Dan. And Dan must stay. Here we go.
Oh, I think so. I did. I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times. And he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape.
Kash Patel also said in a post that he is staying, obviously, and he's going to serve at the pleasure of the president. Everybody celebrated this online, obviously. Dan Bongino is a very good guy. I've known him for a very long time. Does it sound like somebody who's trying to fire Dan Bongino or trying to cause a war? No. He's a good guy. I've known a long time. He sounded terrific. He's in great shape. Let me be crystal clear. If Bongino is allowed to resign while Bondi stays in place, it is irreparable damage, and it would be a huge win for those trying to destroy our country from the inside out. Yeah. They are absolutely, I would say, trying to destroy the Trump administration, maybe kill it in the cradle before it gets started, right? And to harm the administration. And they're trying to do that, by going after the most powerful players and the people who really can create change. Change agent is Dan Bongino. So I'm confirming to you right now from top level sources, Dan Bongino is back at the office. He's working. He's on mission. It's a good thing. And Tucker Carlson, I think, who also knows Dan really well, summed it up really nicely here and explaining where the frustrations come from. And Tucker, of course, been doing this a lot longer than me and is much wiser than me. So here's Tucker Carlson explaining the pressures that Bongino's under and why he totally understands this reaction. Let's go.
Well, as we're recording this, Dan Bongino is threatening to resign if Pam Bondi does not resign as AG. What does that tell us, in your opinion?
Well, it tells us that Dan Bongino got shafted, completely shafted. And I'm saying this as a friend of his and someone who respects and likes him, but also just as an observer, an informed observer of it. So Pam Bondi, who's, by the way, I don't hate Pam Bondi. She's a totally nice person. If she was here, you would enjoy, I don't know if you know her, but she's a very nice person. I'm not against Pam Bondi in the slightest. But the fact is she got on television on Fox News and started saying stuff like, I've got the client list on my desk. And actually, no, you don't. And I've got thousands of videos of Epstein having sex with kids. Well, actually, no, you don't. Most of the material was commercial porn taken off his computer. That's just not true. Why did she say that? Probably because she's insecure and she's trying to please the audience, I would expect.
Do you think Dan is upset because his integrity is being questioned now over her mistakes?
Oh, my gosh. So you're Dan and you're a media figure and you've got one of the biggest podcasts in the country and you're making tons of money and you're having a great time, which he was. You just built this brand new studio in Florida. You work with your wife, who you really like, which she does. And you get the call saying you'd be deputy FBI director. And you're like, I love Donald Trump. I love this country. I will, cut my pay by, into a tenth of what it was. And I will leave my house and move to D.C., which is a kind of prison sentence itself. And I will do this because I love the president. I love the country. And you're there a few months. And all of a sudden, everybody thinks you're covering up Epstein's crimes. And it kind of wrecks Dan's career. He can't go back. It's going to be very hard at this point. I mean, things may change, but as of today, pretty hard for Dan to go back to his podcast audience and be like, I'm telling you the truth, when they all think that he's covering up for Epstein. Who did that? Pam Bondi did that. And I don't know that she did it on purpose. I'm assuming not. I don't think she's a mean person. I've never gotten that sense. But for whatever reason, she went out there and said things that were not true, that she could not back up. And then they issued this memo thinking that it would clear everything up.
That was embarrassing.
And I guess they're just so dumb, they didn't realize that if you tell everybody you have the tapes of these crimes, and then you issue a memo saying you're not going to prosecute anybody for the crimes. What are you saying? I'm covering up for the perpetrators of these crimes. Duh. They have no one with an IQ over 80 over there to read the memos? Are you kidding? You know, I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but I do know that it leaves a guy like Dan in a horrible position.
Yeah.
And he loves Trump. And I don't think Trump had any knowledge of any of this at the detail level. And so he doesn't, I mean, what do you do if you're Dan Bongino? I feel for him. What is Trump going to do? I don't know. I do think that I think they know that they have to do something. I think it's absolutely fair to ask, to what extent was Epstein involved in a foreign intelligence operation on our soil? This is our country. This country doesn't belong to any foreign country. Okay, this is our country. I was born here. I pay taxes here. So if some foreign country, I don't care if you claim it's our ally or not, is running an intel operation on my soil, I have a right to know what that was. And don't make me feel like I'm some kind of Nazi for asking. I'm an American. I have an absolute right to know that. And they're clearly, that is what is being covered up because it makes everyone so uncomfortable.